Hello everybody and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the various miniatures and in this case scenery I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And yes, you'll notice that your view is slightly obscured today. That's because I have been painting not much scenery, but the scenery I've painted has been quite large. So I'm going to cover that quick just to start with, and then we'll actually get over to the miniatures over here, which is comprised largely of the Metal Gear Solid board game with just a little bit of Warcry / Age of Sigmar thrown in. I've actually not been painting a bunch of different games this time, but I have been painting a lot for the games I have been doing it for. So I'm going to move them slightly to the side, we'll take a look at the scenery and then get to the models, which is the important part, going from left to right. So slightly awkward for me, but hopefully better for you from this pulled back angle. You can see that I have finally tackled the two large bits of scenery left for Hivestorm for Kill Team. I had two massive bits of scenery left. I decided to knuckle down and get them done. I thought that was me done with Kill Team, and then as I was prepping for this video I found this, just these little barrels, or crates, sorry, that I haven't done yet. So I thought it was done, and unfortunately not quite. My strat for this is just going to be to follow what I did for these buildings until the stage at which you would add like additional colours, the reds and such, and just use green instead. Paint them maybe a couple of different greens just for variety's sake. It won't take long, so you'll probably see this in the next video. But yeah, there was two massive bits, we'll talk about this in a second. There's two massive bits of Hivestorm terrain left, got them both done, and once again I used the War Hipster video on how to paint this using contrast and dry brushing. Super effective and really quick, and the effect that you end up with is pretty nice. Even if you didn't want to add the red, just using the initial dry brush coats looks okay, which is a Dawnstone Grey Seer, and I used a different white from him only because I didn't have the white he used, but either way, and a white paint for the very edges. So I'll give you a quick look, hopefully, at each of the key sides if you're curious about what I did with them. And that side there, I'm not sure what's meant to be kept in these barrel things, but hey. And then this way, and that is that one, so I'm going to put that one over to one side. And then this is actually the largest bit of terrain here, that just in terms of outward size. Obviously it's not huge up the way in most places, but this is the large bit and has a couple of sniping points up the top, and just an area where you can fit a team as well in here, as if you wanted to keep them hidden. And again, it's just Blood Angels red, and I use a dry brushing of Bronze Scorpion, which is different to how he did it in the video, just because I prefer that look for the old aged look it's going for with this terrain. But that is it done, so I have no more excuses really, except these, for getting Kill Team on the table and trying to play it. Just got to work up the confidence to try a new game, and it's always a little more scary when it's a game that's been around for a while, even though the new edition isn't that old, just because there's so many experienced players for it. Anyway, I also managed to pick up a bit of terrain from the original Warcry box. It's not the entire terrain you got in it, it's just a piece of it, but someone was selling it off, so I decided to pick it up. It's a destroyed Sigmar statue head with built ramshackle stairs and sniper's nests up here on it. Thought it was pretty neat looking. So for the head part, I spray painted it with Army Painter red, and then did a Zenithal highlight with their turquoise colour or teal colour. Simple as that, done, easy, nothing else to say. That's what it looks like underneath. For the staircase, I kept that separate until I was done. I used Rattling Grime on all the stairs, Snakebite Leather on the reds up here, Skeletal Horde for the various skulls, and Leadbelcher Silver with Agra associated over the top for the spikes. Nice and simple, just another nice bit of terrain to include in future Warcry games, because I'm really enjoying Warcry at the moment, so it would pair nicely with Kill Team in theory. That's it for terrain. This will be showing up again in the future, hopefully painted, but I'm going to move this out of the way now and we can actually talk about the miniatures, and I can sit down so my back doesn't hurt. So let's start with Warcry, because there's just two miniatures to talk about, but one of them is especially large. This is the Centurion Marshal, I think he's called, or something akin to that. He can be in any Chaos aligned warband, anyone in the Chaos Grand Alliance, and his aesthetic though is to match the Chaos Legionnaires, who I think released around the same time as him. Really impressive miniature. I had no idea he was so large when I got him, but he is super impressive. Really great miniature, fun to paint, although definitely an intimidating challenge. And I just kind of winged it, as I often do. I did preview this on Blue Sky. I finished it when there was bad lighting, so I hate the picture I took because I feel like it showed the blotchiness of contrast paint because it was too bright. Because I had to put some artificial light on because natural light had ran out. I feel like in the light we've got here it probably looks better than that photo, just because it doesn't show the blotchiness. But in terms of what I used, let's see if I can remember. I used, I used an assortment of browns for the actual like horse bottom half of his body. Starting with not Snakebite Leather, the other one, Wildwood, that's the one, which is the darker brown. While it was damp, I mixed in some Black Legion to make the fur on his legs and just the lower parts of his legs look a little more black, with a little bit of red where he has wounds on the legs. For his actual body tone parts, it's just Guilliman flesh with some Baal red for the chaos symbols he's got etched into his flesh, and that goes for his back as well, actually, because he does have one on his back that's slightly obscured by his like straps and such. The straps, speaking of, is Snakebite Leather. The metal parts of his armor is just plain silver with Nuln Oil over the top, and Nazrag Yellow with Nuln Oil over the top as well. And there's a little bit of sepia wash because the chainmail he's got kind of like on two of his forehands, dude thinks he's Goro, is darker in the official paint job than the rest of the silver, so that's how I achieved that. I used Stormfiend Blue for his hair. I used Gargak Sewer colour for his horn, one of which is broken. It comes like that, it's meant to be broken. I guess it's just to show he's been a fighter for a long time. Agros Dunes for the net with silver on the edges, and Bronze Scorpion for the face with Volupus Pink for the little tongue there. And I think that bit covers it, other than Blood for the Blood God to do some splatters, because he's a warrior, he is a beast, and I'm going to be seeing him on the table real soon to see how he performs. He seems pretty scary, which he should be because he's just shy of 300 points, which is a third of the points you're allowed in Warcry, so you better be good for that. The base is the AK Concrete Technical paint with grey over the top, some just grass glued on with PVA glue, and Blood for the Blood God. I added some extra skulls from the Citadel skull box you can buy. I bought it years ago, I've still used barely half of it, so just bung some of them on to show it. So hopefully he's mostly been in focus. As I say, really impressive model, and the good part about impressive models is they do a lot of the work when it comes to looking nice. So hopefully I did it at least a little bit of justice. Oh yeah, for his face, while this was wet, I just put a little bit of, I think that's Aethermatic Blue. Just again, because the official paint job kind of has a blue hue around the face. I'm not sure why, but it had it, so I tried to imitate it. So that is it for the Centurion Marshal. Very cool miniature, and a lot larger than I thought he was coming out of the box. And then as I was assembling it, I was like, oh, hang on a second, this thing is huge. And yeah, he certainly is that. So the other thing I have to show you from Warcry is the Abhorrent Archregent for the Flesh Eater Courts. Mr. Vampire Cursed Man that spreads his curse of madness to, I don't know, their lore is odd. But either way, he's also going to be very hard to get in focus, I feel, just because he is in such a weird pose. Tried to match up as best I could using Gutripper Flesh with a little bit of Rattling Grime for his, well, I don't know, tattered robes at the back here. Let's see, Nazrag Yellow for the hilt and like his shoulder pad, and Stormfiend Blue for the thing he's holding onto, plus the base, which is again the AK Technical Paint Concrete colour, just coloured with that blue, and then a couple of tufts there. Pretty cool looking. I like that they've got kind of like a knightly thing going on, because their madness makes them believe that they're like noble knights, and they sometimes actually do nice things, but they're also insane. Oh, he's got some bones around his neck. That is just skeletal hard on those. As I say, a bit of a hard miniature to get a real good look at. For his wings, I think I used Magus Purple while it was damp, but I'll be honest, I don't quite remember. Nope, my dog just brushed her tail against my radiator. And same again for that one there. So yeah, not much to say about that other than it's the start of a little team of Flesh Eater Courts for Warcry. No, you don't need too many. So the Abhorrent Archregent is just a good boss for them, a cheap and cheerful boss, and you can have your big ghouls and such take up the rest of the points. So just an alternative, and I'm going to, again, I'm sticking with this theme for any kind of like knight or zombie, ghost, etc. units for Age of Sigmar, just to have them separated from the normal concrete, for instance, on the Marshal there. So yeah, That's one down, many to go. Then we come to Metal Gear Solid, the board game. Been playing a bunch of it. It's really fun. It's really hard to keep track of the guard AI and what they would do in each given situation. That's definitely the biggest hurdle that is not fully explained in the rulebook, as I'm sure you've seen if you've watched my videos on it. But the models for it, they're CMON games, and they're great. They're really nice quality, very easy to paint with contrast paint, and that's what I've been doing. We have 6 guards, 3 of each of the 2 poses you get. I think you get 6 in total of each of the poses. 2 of the bosses, and all 4 player characters as well, done already. And still plenty more to paint for that game. I'm trying to keep ahead of it. There's a lot of it going up on the channel right now because I've been enjoying it, and the viewer verdict did pretty well. So you'll be expecting to see more of that definitely in the coming month. So these were all painted the same, so I'll just roughly show them off to you. It's the guards. I recently replayed Metal Gear Solid on stream just because I had not played it since I was a kid really. But when I first saw these models, they reminded me more of the guard design from Metal Gear Solid 2, which I thought was an error. But no, there is a couple of sections in Metal Gear Solid 1 where soldiers that look like this, wearing this kind of body armor, actually are prevalent. It's usually in the forced alert sequences, or if you stay on alert too long, the heavily armored guards come out. So that's what these are mostly based on. But for all of them, I used a mixture of Militarum Green for the green sections, Black Legion for their armor parts, with a little bit of a very loose dry brushing of silver on the guns, just to separate them from the armor a little bit. The Snakebite leather for their belts, and for the bases, I used Leadbelcher silver. I dry brush a little bit of that red dry brushing I talked about last time, and that was just to show like, oh, there's an alert going on, and also just to make the bases look a bit more interesting, to be honest. And did that in different locations on them for variety's sake. There's a little bit of Ghoulian flesh on their exposed hands and eyes, but that's it. And then known oil over everything after that. And I just used a normal black paint to go over the rims of the bases. So that's all of them in those pose. That pose rather. And then you've got the 3 in this pose. If you wanted to go further, definitely like finding maybe a light green, but not too light green, to dry brush over the Militarum green parts would probably bring out a bit more detail. But I was fine with this for bog standard grunts. And I am actually going to be painting up at least a couple more because I've realised now, oh yeah, and I used a little bit of red paint in the holes on the helmet because the ones in 2 have holes in their helmets like that are red, so I thought, why not? It's the Russian soldiers from the start of Metal Gear Solid 2 when you're on the boat. That's what they reminded me more so of than any guard in Metal Gear Solid 1, but hey. So that's what I went with. I used Leadbelcher silver on a couple of the latches on the back of the body armor. So yeah, I'm going to do at least 2 more of them just because I need more guards for some of the larger missions. But beyond that, I'm mostly going to be focusing on the bosses because they're more fun. On that note, let's actually talk about the bosses. We have Revolver Ocelot, while my dog plays with a toy I just threw for, in case you're curious, and Psycho Mantis. Then we'll talk about the player characters, one of whom is also a boss, if you're familiar with the story. But Revolver Ocelot, he is the one you face first in the video game, and remains a thorn in your side for basically the entire series, one way or another. And he was fun. I mostly used Rattling Grime. I used, that's just Basilicanum Grey with a brown wash over, I think. And Garagax Sewer, and for his hair it's just the base coat of Grey Seer with non-oil over the top. Ghoulian Flesh and Blood Angels Red for his necktie and gloves. Leadbelcher Silver for the guns. The base is just Basilicanum Grey because you fight him indoors, so I thought I'd go with that theme. Little bit of Ulthuan Grey just to try and highlight a little bit before the wash went on, which is hopefully vaguely like visible. And Leadbelcher Silver for the exposed metal bars. Fun model, a bit hard to pick out his mustache, but I think I managed it, and yeah, pretty cool. I already recorded his boss fight. I think that's going live on the day I'm recording this actually. So, fun model. And then we have Psycho Mantis, and I previewed this on Blue Sky as well, and he did numbers, I guess, but it's because I did something weird with the lighting. I was looking for references of from the video game just to try and make sure I had the colours right in my head, and I found a version that someone had painted with a lot of like harsh red glow, and I thought, oh, that looks pretty good, I'm going to copy that. So I did. There's not, well, I mean, you're permanently in alert stats when you're fighting a boss, but Psycho Mantis is a rather unique and very well known boss fight in Metal Gear Solid 1 because of the strange mechanics. In the original release, to beat him you had to swap your controller port because he would read your mind otherwise and you would never be able to escape him. Doing that fight on PC in the modern era on a officially emulated version of the game is very frustrating. You have to put in a keyboard command to count it as a different port, or you can do the worst way, which is the way I did after being told by my chat. You have to let yourself get killed a couple of times, then before the fight starts you can blow up the statues in the room. There's 2 of them that look exactly like this, that kind of have Psycho Mantis' mask on them, and that makes them unable to read your mind as well for some reason. I don't actually know why, but it does. So that's the method I had to use, just because I didn't want to muck around with changing ports. So that was fun. Anyway, for him it's mostly just Black Legion on all of his like suit and gas mask with orange Magmadroth flame specifically to pick out the lenses. Guilliman Flesh for his exposed bits. This is a mixture of browns, Eldari Emerald, Basilicanum Grey. Then I did a harsh dry brushing of that same red Citadel dry brush I was talking about last time. Aggressively applied it, and the finished effect is pretty cool. I feel like maybe if you wanted to make it more Psycho Mantis-y, I think his Psychic Blast he fires at you has either a slight blue or green tinge, I can't remember which. That may have been a more apt, because he kind of cloaks and floats around the battlefield as well. So you could have used a bluish or greenish shade of dry brush, and it maybe would have been more thematically apt. But I really liked the harsh red that I saw someone else do, so I decided to replicate that here. And yeah, judging by the numbers it did on Blue Sky, people like how this turned out as well, so I'm glad I went with it. Haven't fought him yet, not sure if I'm looking forward to it or not, having done it in the video game for the first time in like 20 years, but either way, we'll get to him eventually. So then finally we have once a boss and then also a playable character, and then the rest of the playable characters. I've got them in the wrong order as well. If I can do them in the order I painted them in, it was Snake, actually no, it was Grey Fox first, then Snake, then Merle, then Otacon. And I went with the theme of ice for all their bases, because a lot of the first game you actually are wandering around in the snow and the ice, and then it's kind of like half and half, and then inside a facility, but they very clearly had bases that were not meant like the metal floors, so I thought, just try and do something with ice. So let's start with Grey Fox, aka the ninja, and he's pretty cool, fun pose, fun miniature, and for all their bases I used Frostheart. While it was wet I mixed in some Tyrian Blue Wash in certain places, just to add a bit of definition, let it dry, then did a edge highlight with Ulthuan Grey, and that's kind of what created the harsh light ice effect. Ooh, there's one of my dog's hairs. Done similar in the past for like the Mr. Freeze crew for the Batman game, and some others. I'm forgetting some stuff for God Tier as well. Basically just evolving that same strat for my new attempt. For his armor, I used Asherman Blue, I believe it was, with Magmadroth Flame for the orange parts. That's just the base coat with non-oil over it, and did non-oil over everything. Black Legion for the hilt with Nazrag Yellow for the 2 gold parts, Leadbelcher Silver. Simple as that, and that's the gun he uses in the finale, and that's just Black Legion with dry brushing of silver over the top. Very cool miniature, fun character, Grey Fox. Will be showing up in the series as a boss fight, and then later as a character. So we'll see what that's like. He wasn't particularly fun to play against either. Like, Metal Gear Solid 1, the video game, has not aged that well at all. It's desperately in need of like an HD remaster or something. I know it came out on the GameCube as a slight remaster, but yeah, it's needing like a full rework. It's not aged well, especially the back half of the game. It's pretty rough. But anyway, then we have Snake himself. Pretty happy with how Snake turned out, actually. Guilliman Flesh for his skin tone. I used Space Wolves Grey over all of him, and then used Ultramarines Blue, I believe it was, to pick out the just choice parts of his body armor to add a bit of definition. A little bit of black on his belts, holsters, etc., with some Leadbelcher Silver as well, and that's pretty much it. Cardboard box on his base is Snakebite Leather, and the ration is Agros Dunes with non-oil over it as well, and then the ice I've already described for Grey Fox. Hopefully in focus. Very fun miniature, just an iconic video game character, no matter how you feel about the series as a whole, but pretty cool, and I'm actually very happy with how he turned out. Next, for Merle, kind of the same colours as the Genome Soldiers there for the most part. Militarum Green for her trousers, Basilicanum Grey for her top with a little bit of Storm Vermin fur dry brushed over it, a bit harshly because I wanted it to be a different tone. Black Legion for her belt, and for the gun with silver dry brush over the top. Magmadroth Flame for her iconic ginger hair, and non-oil over everything. Pretty simple. You already have seen Merle in one of the videos where I had to two-hand it, kind of, because just thematically it fit. And she'll be turning up later. I don't know if you can use her in the Psycho Mantis boss fight, because he kind of uses her as a weapon in it. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious how the board game is going to handle that, because it's got some ARG mechanics. So I would not be surprised if that fight in particular also has that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. We're not that far off from it either. I think maybe like 3 missions. And then Otacon, the giant nerd that he is, that's just the Grey Seer base coat for his jacket with the Soul Blight wash over it. And then a little bit of non-oil in places as well. Black Legion for his hair. It's the same Space Wolves grey for his jean colour, so if you're curious what it looks like on jeans, it's the perfect jeans colour, but it is also what I used for Snake's armour. And for his laptop, it's just Blade Doctor Silver with Aethermatic Blue on the screen. I did see a version of Otacon painted up where it was a harsh green light from the screen. Wasn't as keen on that as the red on Psycho Mantis, so I decided not to copy that one, but it is an option if you want to give him some more interesting like lighting. Make it that the screen is lighting up his face. It'd be pretty cool. And on the base, I would not have gotten this had I not recently replayed the game. Like, why does he have a bottle on his base and a ration? And the reason he has those is because when you are incarcerated in Metal Gear Solid 1, during the torture sequence, that's disturbingly in every game because Hideo Kojima is a weirdo. When Otacon comes to save you, he gives you a ration and he gives you a bottle of ketchup, and that's a hint for how you can try and get out. You lie on the floor, you squirt the ketchup and it looks like blood, and the guard thinks you've died and comes in, opens the door, and that's your first chance to escape. If you fail, then Grey Fox will rescue you one more torture session later. So they've definitely done their homework for what gets referenced there. That's ketchup and a ration. That's what he brings you because he refuses to fight because he is a nerd. And, you know, a random aside again, but again because I've been playing the video games, I do like Otacon's voice actor, but he cannot act when it comes to having to cry. And he has to cry once in Metal Gear Solid and like a couple of times in Metal Gear Solid 2, and it's really, really cringy. Anywho, random aside, that was. If you want to see me play through more of the Metal Gear Solid games, I'm planning to go through as many as are available on PC, which I think is every one of them except 4, and 4 is boring, so I'm not too fussed about that. But yeah, if you want to see that, once I get over this Monster Hunter Wilds binge, I'm sure I'll be back to it. But either way, for next time in terms of what I'll be painting, probably some more Nighthaunt, some more... Oh, I'm not sure what some more... Well, definitely some more Metal Gear Solid board game. I've got 2 of the guards primed right now, so there's definitely going to be more of that painted. I need to paint up a couple more bosses at the very least. Sniper Wolf and... Who's the next boss after that? Vulcan Raven? Maybe. I think Vulcan Raven, but we'll see. And, oh yeah, those crates, for sure, that I keep showing in the video because I'm annoyed at myself for missing them until I was recording this video. They'll be done for sure, you'll see them. And then, I'm not sure, after that, I can definitely say at least one thing from He-Man Battleground by Archon Studios, because I decided to paint something else from that, just because I wanted to do something different, and I found one of the villains I wanted to paint up, because I've been painting a lot of heroes, so I thought, you know, it's time to be painting up another villain. Anywho, if you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so on Blue Sky or in my Discord. Links to Blue Sky below, and just stop by when I'm streaming on my gaming channel or Twitch, and I can invite you to the Discord. And yeah, I hope this inspired you to keep painting. Doesn't matter if you're good at it or not, as long as you enjoy the experience. With that, I will see you in about 2 weeks for another update. Until then, ta-da for now.